This is Shahar with MindSpire Test Prep, and I'm going to explain English number 13 on ACT 73E. This is a question that many students miss. The main reason they miss it is because there's an answer that is a major distractor. So we're going to pay attention to what that distractor is. Remember, a distractor is an answer that you're supposed to get distracted by to maybe pick it. And there's a good one here. So before I start, read the whole sentence and the answers on your own and ask yourself, what are they testing me on? And have a look at that, press pause, and do that now. Cool, so hopefully you noticed that punctuation is definitely an issue here. You probably noticed the dashes in B and that all they're really changing and everything else is just a little bit of the punctuation. That's really important to notice. Okay, so one thing is that in order to get this right, you do need to know what dashes are. So that's a second big question. When do you use dashes? Take a second and answer that to yourself right now. Press pause and answer the question, when do you use dashes? Good. Hopefully you said that you use dashes instead of parentheses or commas to set off a non-essential phrase. That is, a phrase that you can eliminate from the sentence and the sentence will still make sense. Cool. So now that we know that, let's go ahead and look through the answer choices. So hopefully you got rid of A pretty fast because it would just be a run-on sentence. Though it was not always smooth sailing, Ward recalls almost colliding with a reef. The min was found to be more than adequate. It's like, whoa, you need some pause there. So almost no one picks A. That's cool. B looks pretty good. We've got dashes. If we're cool with that, we see that it pretty much works. Though it was not always smooth sailing, the min was found to be more than adequate for a voyage to punt. You can get rid of this part, Ward recalls almost colliding with the reef, and it still makes sense. What about C? Though it was not always smooth sailing, Ward recalls almost colliding with the reef, period. The min was found to be more than adequate for a voyage to punt. So the grammar works pretty well with C. Let's leave that. D doesn't look so good. Though it was not always smooth sailing, Ward recalls, almost colliding with the reef. The min was found to be more than adequate for a voyage to punt. This comma is completely unnecessary. So we got rid of D and A. But the grammar works on B and C. So what does it come down to? It comes down to the word though. Though is a contrast word, which means you should only use it when the two parts of the sentence or the previous sentence is contrasting. It was not always smooth sailing. Ward recalls almost colliding with the reef. That's not contrast, that's a continuation. That is saying the same thing in a different way. So though doesn't make sense there. So that makes the answer have to be B. So in sum, notice that you had to know dashes really well, and you had to be able to spot the problem with the word though, the transition word. I would suggest always circling transition words when they're in a sentence that you have to deal with, and also, again, learning the rules for dashes really clearly.